Myself, Dr. Manpreet Arora, Assistant Professor, Central University of Himachal Pradesh at Dharamshala. Let's talk about corporate image today. You must be understanding one thing that organizations nowadays are concerned in managing their corporate image. There's a strong positive correlation between people's perception of a company and pro corporate supportive behavior. Various researches have been done on corporate image where incorporated to create a platform for a framework which identifies the variables of a relationship between corporate image and the customer loyalty in combination with the profitability. And we all know that these all things are very important for a business. So people found out that there is a strong positive correlation between how people perceive an organization and the pro corporate supportive behavior. So it is the sum total of basically the perceived characteristics of the corporation that we refer to as a corporate image. If I refer to Oxford Advanced Learning's dictionary, it defined corporate as a connection with the larger business company. Every organization has its image, whether the organization does anything about it or not. Corporate image is formed on various perceptions of the stakeholders of a specific company actions as well as associated industry and various issues. So, an organization's image to a large extent influences the stakeholders' reactions to specific corporate actions as well as products. According to a researcher called as Rayner, he said that corporate image confirms clear cut advantages and privileges of the company. It proves very difficult to imitate, and at the same time, it creates responsibilities for the organizations. Whereas, when we talk about the obligations, the managers and the organizations, they must meet the standards for the employees, the quality standards expected by the customers, the ethical standards of the community as a whole, and moreover, the profitability standards which are expected by the investors. Corporate image is therefore the result of a process by which the public compares and contrasts with the various attributes of the company. All these factors form an image about something, and it is the part of the experience of the company as well as customer. For example, a customer will see the name of the company or hear in a conversation, or maybe he is watching a commercial, perhaps through the media. So at that time, the organization starts creating an image. And what does it sound like? Mean they are focusing on building up their corporate image. They then see a visual presentation of the company, like certain colors, works in the form of advertisements, quotes, hoardings. So this encourages the image in one direction. A company's logo is like the heart of the company. It is what reflects the company's identity and can be changed slightly to keep up to the trends of the industry. So, the customers rarely hear what a company's mission is. They don't know what is the code of ethics of the company. Some customers are quite intelligent one and they go for the annual reports and they try to find out what the company is. But in a general parlance, we are affected by the company's image, by the actions of the company, and the way the company is interacting with the public by the use of media and other things. So, advertisement as well as public relations, they both play a very important role in forming the company's image. Then there is interaction of the company with the employees. They project the image of the organization, which is very crucial in various organizations like service organization, where Personal interaction can be the key to customer satisfaction. So, even though many companies have in the past, we have seen that ignored and underestimated the importance of the company's image and reputation. They are nevertheless integral parts in any company's pursuits of the goals. A company's image or reputation is the key determinant between the success and the failure. Kotler, famous marketing researcher and the author, he defines image as the set of beliefs, ideas, and impressions that a person holds regarding an object. People's attitude and action toward an object are highly conditioned by object's image. Thus, a person's image of a certain company constructs a corporate image. So, in order to influence the corporate image of a company, we must first try to understand the conceptual framework of the corporate image formation process. There are several sources in the mix which influence the corporate image of the company. They can be divided into two categories: the internal, which is controllable sphere of the influence, and the external, which is uncontrollable sphere of this influence. So, when we are talking about the internal influence, there are so many sources which help to form the corporate image. For example, corporate personality and identity, corporate advertising, the brand image, the public relations, the frontline employee behavior. Let me talk about the corporate advertising first. The factors that influence the shape of the identity can be analyzed and interpreted in a multi ways. An important responsibility of the management is to define and communicate organization's identity in a way that facilitates the achieving of corporate goals. From the organization's perspective, it can influence its image by controlling what information is offered to and received by the stakeholder. In this respect, the institutional advertising has demonstrated its effectiveness in improving the awareness of the company behind the product or the service or increasing the goodwill of the company. There's one more researcher called as Zinkan. He, with his fellow friends, did a research on this area, and his research has shown that trust a person has in something is a function of how much consistent and reliable information is available. Thus, if insufficient amount of information is available for a person to make a very confident decision, he or she shall be susceptible to the influence. Therefore, one way a company can influence the definition of the company by a stakeholder, and the stakeholder can be consistent, he'll be affected by favorable information of the company over the period of time. So that is why corporate advertising is often used as a tool to facilitate knowledge, and it also influences the corporate image held by the company towards its shareholders as well as other stakeholders. So, brand image is another important factor in this regard. In this age of technology, competition, few products can be differentiated from others only on the basis of certain product qualities. So, when there are no different or clear distinctions between the products, nor clear cost based advantages in choosing one product over the another, at that time, what do you think? What plays an important role for the company to sell its product? Yes, it is the image of the brand. It helps in the success of the company. So the brand image is comprised of functional, symbolic, experimental aspects of various products and services. It includes even the advertisements, various aspects of the companies which are related with the corporate image as well as corporate reputation. So, all these concepts are built on the perceptions which are held by different stakeholders as well as groups, which corporate brand provides a company with distinctiveness and equity and an edge over the rivals. Therefore, brand advertising can improve the corporate image, and ultimately it's a very powerful standard by which an organization, its activities, its actions are totally evaluated. Another aspect is public relations. Public relation campaigns have been a various sources of companies to build general goodwill towards them. For long period of time, they are used to build the reputation of the company. They are also used to maintain communication with the stakeholders, to create, to increase, and to get the company acceptable between the stakeholders in the public. So, why all these activities are done? Because company wants to project a positive image towards the public. By sponsoring the local events and giving to the charitable causes, a company can project an image itself to be a good corporate citizen. So, public relation programs can be used, for example, to show that the company is environmentally friendly as well as it's contributing to general causes, as well as it is educating people, helping in the healthcare, and it is going to contribute very favorably as well as positively towards the various issues of the society at the large. Now, let's talk about the behavior of the frontline employees, that how it plays a role in building the favorable corporate image. So, whenever a company is in direct contact with public, the interaction occurs, which affects the perceptions about the company, and it creates an influence on the relationship of the party. In many cases, a direct contact with frontline employees, it serves as the formation of image about the company. So the employees are significant part of the company, and they are important aspect for the marketing also. Why? Because they can project the messages about the company and personify the brand. They can help the business to share the information. So in a service business, for example, it is very imperative and not to underestimate the role of the employees which play in the brand reputation. Hence, the central role in creating and managing reputation is there by the frontline employees. The influence of employees, for better or for worse, can be very consequential. Let us now talk about the role of websites these days play in brand image or reputation. So, the media landscape has changed considerably since the development of the internet, which is visible in the field of marketing communication. And it is transforming the organizations, what they think about the interaction with their stakeholders. So nowadays, organizations, they utilize the internet as a potential medium for communication between all its stakeholders. For example, the brand websites, they help in organizations stakeholders to collect information, shape up their perceptions, and interactively respond to the organization. So, by supplying a broad range of functionality, these websites, they provide the brand with a platform to foster the relationships with potential and actual customers based on continuous dialogue and enables the organizations to manage corporate image dynamically. So, within the external sphere of the influence, the impressions about the organizations can be created through indirect contact. There is so much of the second-hand information which is gathered through friends, colleagues, experiences can influence the stakeholders' image about the organization, information from popular press sources within the external sphere of the influences which have larger influence in image uh, creation processes are like the industry image, the country of origin image, there is word of mouth, there are press reports. So, all these sources are basically beyond the direct contact of the company, but they influence directly sometimes and indirectly most of the time. So, public relations in this context, is controlled by press releases, which is in the control of the company, while the press reports are reporting by any and other people. People do not always have a sharp mental picture of the organization, but they do access to broad variety of news items, especially when any negative press report is there. It can have a profound effect on the corporate image of the company. So when we talk about word of mouth, in the absence of direct interaction with the organization, the stakeholders may form opinions and impressions of the organization based on what others say about the company. So, word of mouth tends to be very credible and persuasive, and it can affect significantly the image of stakeholder forms towards a given company. So, the image of the company changes as the person perceives and gets more information about the company. There's a researcher, Rope and Veselka. In 1998, they did a research and they suggested that the change of an image is affected by the information a person perceives or receives, in addition to various psychological factors. And it happens simultaneously. When the image of the company changes, the person receives more information about the company. In the awareness phase, a person only knows the name of the company. In the familiarity phase, a person knows something already about the company apart from the name of the company. However, at this point, a person does not have any opinions that are invested with values. This is the reason why these first two phases are seen as the pure images in the psychological sense. Then comes the attitude phase. In the attitude phase, a person can have either positive, negative, or neutral attitude towards the company. The image has transformed from a pure image to a permanent image because of the changing of the person's attitude is relatively difficult. At this point, person starts searching the information, which is easily open, and the information that correlate with the image that he or she is having towards that company, whether it's positive or negative. Thus, it is important for a company that the corporate image is seen as positive as early as possible towards the customers and the other stakeholders. There comes a preference phase where the company is seen as somewhat better in some aspects than its competitors. It is important that the company builds an positive attitude and tries to create a favorable expectation about the actions of the company. And then comes an experience phase where a person has certain benefits about the properties of the company. Image is turned into the inner truth. We label it to be the truth, and it becomes the reputation of the company. A firm can create and or modify its image by managing, controlling the variables within the firm's internal sphere of influence. Organizations, with the passage of time, try to build and change their image to make it positive in the line of changing circumstances. Whatever the motivation behind the desire to change the image is for the organization, it is imperative, it is necessary, it is bound to happen, and it is to be inconsistent with the missions as well as goals of the company. So that's it from my side. I hope you have understood the concept of the corporate image. The corporate image should not leave the room for the stakeholder interpretation. The desired image be as clearly as defined and as planned as possible in a similar fashion as all other marketing variables like brand name, product pricing, and marketing are taken care of. An in depth analysis of the current image of the organization should be done before any corporate image campaigns are started. So, to ascertain the correct image is getting through to the stakeholders, the campaign should be very consistent, carrying out certain themes and supporting the same message. Moreover, the corporate image is the perception that the stakeholder has and not necessarily a reality. Regular feedback is always recommended to ascertain the actual image of the stakeholders that the company holds. And there's a saying, people say that image is reality. So therefore, image development or enhancement programs must be based upon reality. If the image of the company is unknown, but the company is successful, then a planned marketing communication campaign is needed. In turn, if the image is bad, the company's performance would be bad, the fundamental problem should be taken care of. The problem is much more than the communication problem. And when the negative image stems from real problems for the company, say for having a service quality issue or a marketing campaign highlighting problems in relation to the customer service experiences, it can have disastrous effect on the mind of the stakeholders. So at the best, the advertising campaign is a waste of money if you are not taking care of the customers expectations and they do not meet the reality. So that is why, in this instance, the company should accurately investigate the real reasons behind any image problem before any communication effort is done. I hope I was able to make you understand the concept of corporate image and how it is necessary, as well as how it can be managed by the companies to take further decisions which helps the company to gain the sustainable advantages. Thank you very much.